Good morning, everybody. I'm Andrew, and this is my colleague Candace, and welcome to the 2021 Trends Report. We have a lot to cover today, so I'm going to jump right in. But I do want to just give you a few housekeeping notes. And first of all, to say I'm going to start with a virtual round of applause for all of you making it through this incredibly tough year. Who would have known, right, that we would be 9 months into what we thought was going to be about 2 weeks. But we're here, and we'll hopefully inspire you today. Couple quick things. Our hashtags are available on the screen, so you can please tag us in any trends that you want to put into your own social media. This report will be available to you via email and on our website following the presentation. It'll actually be on the Carbonate website and on the af&co website soon, but you'll also get an emailed link in the next day with all the presentation notes. The other thing I wanted to mention is that because we have so many trends today, we initially went into this year thinking, how are we going to trend? Where are we going to find these? And then digging in, as we normally do, we found quite a lot of information to share with you. So we'll get into that in a minute. So if we don't get to every trend, you'll be able to get the whole report and see everything. And then you can put questions in the chat, and we'll try to leave a few minutes at the end of the hour. We want to be respectful of your time. And if we don't get to all your questions, we'll email you with answers. So that's sort of the little housekeeping notes. I did want to say that, while we're going to have a little fun today, we're taking, obviously, what's going on with our industry very, very seriously. With the virus soaring throughout the country and winter approaching, and certainly travel bans and quarantines and everything that's going on, we don't want in any way for all of you to think that we're taking what our industry is going through in a light fashion in any way. This is the most challenging time I think our industry has ever faced. And so today, because I can't do a trend report without singing a song or two or having a little fun, we're going to inspire. We hope to inspire you, and we hope to give you some survival techniques to make it through the very difficult months that are coming up. So, just wanted to put that disclaimer in because you should all give yourselves a huge pat on the back for making it to today, hopefully healthy, and that what we're going to introduce to you today is something that I think will last the whole year, and certainly when the vaccine arrives, you'll have tools in your toolkit to be ready to go back at it. Okay? So on that note, let's dig in. So I just sort of talked a little bit about this, but one of the things that every year as we're looking for trends, and our process begins a year out. Obviously, this year was pretty crazy. We also realized that we're starting to talk about, well, what's going on right now, and the word hustle came up a lot. People are really hustling. They're hustling to figure out how to pivot. The word pivot was also used a lot, but we sort of got sick of that word, midway through this. So we changed it to, not changed it. We just moved to hustle. And so therefore, the disco theme, my generation, was born in this, and you'll see disco tunes throughout the presentation. Put them in your chat function, if you will, and there may be some prizes for great songs and my singing. So I'll start with dun 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 dun. Do the hustle. Okay. On that note, I've gotten my first song out, and then obviously, one thing we know is the resilience of our industry has been absolutely incredible, and it will continue to be. And all of you are part of it. So we're talking about creativity, innovation, and willpower to just make it. And so if you really thought about it, I'd love you all to get up in your houses somewhere and sing I Will Survive. That is the central theme of this report. We're talking about, survival and I was going to say thrival, but that's not really a word. But, I think as we dig in, it's very important that you look at everything with nimbleness, agility, and creativity, and a whole lot of hustle. Okay, let's dig in. Candace, I got everything so far?
I think so. We even got our first song
great.
in. What more could we want?
I know. So I'll tell you just 2 seconds about us. You can find everything on our website, so we didn't want to spend a lot of time here. But obviously, some of you know me, and I'm Andrew from af&co. And I have to tell you that one of the other major things that happened in this pandemic is we celebrated our 15th anniversary last week. And we are, we're an agency that I'd say is the leading, of course I'm going to say that provides strategic media and marketing programs. We're Bay Area focused, but we work, all over the country, and we focus on things that we're passionate about. And then my buddy over there, my partner in crime, Candace, MacDonald, who she and I have been working together for just over 10 years now. About 5 years ago, we decided that we're getting called on concept development, brand development, strategic communications, the fixers of, hotels and restaurants. And so in January of this year, we broke off and created the company Carbonate. And you can see there that we specialize in hospitality, all the same things, but we actually do food tech on that side as well. And we're very, as a group, as partners I'll say partners in crime, but I mean, as partners, we're very complementary. And we're storytellers, and we're focused on results. And hopefully, again, this report will inspire you.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a little bit about how we trend. I think this is an interesting, it's part art, part science. I think everybody knows when you're trying to figure out what's going to be in the future, there's lots of things, lots of indicators to consider. And, in the end, it comes down to a bit of instinct and a whole lot of research. So this report is the product of a number of people. Andrew and I being here on the camera today. We also, Leith Steele from our team is our strategist who really spends a lot of her time focused on trends. She has a marketing background and a culinary background, and she's actually, she was one of af&co's very first team members and has been working on this report for quite some time. So she deserves a very big dose of credit for everything you're going to see here as well. We also look to our contributors. We like to think that we have access to some incredible minds in our industry. So you'll see on this screen some of the people who have helped us write this report. But honestly, it's everyone that we interact with over the course of a year that really inspires us and we learn from. So, we have a number of people here that we have contributed in bigger ways than others, but we spend a lot of time in the industry, and I think that's where a lot of this comes from. So, that's sort of how we put things together, and we really aim to really get at the heart of, what's happening, what's creating, what's generating momentum, but also, what are the factors in the world that are going to push things forward. And that's the interesting thing about this year. There's a lot of factors to consider in how people are interacting with food and drink. So we'll start a little bit here by looking back. We, as you know, we do this trend report every year. And so we published 2020's report in November of last year, 2019. And it was called We're Not in Kansas Anymore, the New Hospitality Landscape. Little did we know how that sense that we were facing a whole new frontier would really come to be. And we certainly, when the 2020 pandemic hit our country, when we looked at our trends from last year, we thought to ourselves, like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have to throw this whole thing away because it's not going to be relevant. People are really going to be looking in different modes. And actually what we found was quite the opposite. The things that had taken hold and that were starting to become cultural and really impact our industry, all of those things were really accelerated by the pandemic. And so in that sense, there's a little bit of comfort because some of these pivots and hustles and all these things that we're going to be talking about, there's already evidence that there was good reason and changes in consumer behavior that were going to make those things relevant anyways in 2020. So some of the things that we called out that we see are still very, very important to our industry. The first one here is plant-based global fare. In 2020, we actually called this the trend of the year, and we titled it Vegan Goes Viral. I think I speak for every marketer on this call that we will never use the word viral again, and certainly not in the same context that we once wanted to use it. But I think, what we found is that, and over the past, and this is not certainly since last year, but over the past, 5 years even, we've seen the rise of plant-based eating and lots of alternatives to other types of proteins. And what we're seeing this year for the future is that really plant-based eating is coming to global fare. So, before it was, vegan foods were kind of on the fringe, and, they became important, and people started to eat that way even if they weren't vegan. And now it's really taking hold, where we're seeing whole restaurants that are dedicated to cultures that highlighting the food of certain cultures that aren't necessarily plant-based. So the real question for this one is, when you have that plant-based Italian restaurant, what do you call that mozzarella, or what is the shrimp in that plant-based gumbo? What is that really called? So there's some really great examples here of food that's really very specific to a particular region being done with plant-based ingredients.
One thing I just want to chime in with, Candace, is that in the bottom, you'll see examples of restaurants that we've sourced around the country on every slide. We won't go into all of those, but these are really great examples for you all to look at if any of these trends, appeal to you or is something you want to build out.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of along this line, last year we talked about meeting this, cell-based meats and vegan meat, in quote. And we see this even expanding even more going into 2021. There's a whole lot of investment being made in animal-free animal products, and they're moving from petri dishes to printers. So you can actually, there's an Israeli company that has developed 3D printed plant-based steak alternatives. So who knows? Maybe in a couple of years we'll be printing our own proteins from our house.
I gotta go print out my own meat.
Exactly. This next one, I think, was one that, we had last year. We really talked about ghost kitchens being something on the rise. And little did we know how much that would be accelerated this year. So, we still see delivery extending. It's primarily because not only are we spending more time at home, but also because this was already something that was really taking off. And this is really interesting, and what we're seeing now is not as much restaurants say, okay, yeah, yes, I have to deliver, but now we're seeing other companies really looking at how can they facilitate that into a better experience. And so while ghost kitchens was something that we called as being on the rise last year, they've really taken off this year, and now they're really looking at becoming more than just a real estate place. So the example we have here, this is Crave Hospitality Group. This has 16 award-winning chefs. They just opened their first location in Boise, and the idea is, it's way more than just providing a kitchen space. They have their own in-house delivery system with their own W-2 employee drivers, and so it's really all these companies. Reef Kitchens is working with established brands. It's really these companies are really looking at how can we provide more than just a location. Andrew, we got a couple other fun ones that we got right. We like to give ourselves a pat on the back.
This is where we call our bragging a little bit. But again, going into this, we had no idea, a year looking back, how relevant these would become this year. So obviously, canned cocktails we had called last year. Now Zoom happy hours can't be without canned cocktails that get delivered to your home. We called sourdough last year, and that one, let's face it, who hasn't baked a piece of bread this year or gotten into it? I still haven't. I admit, Candace, I still have not baked any bread, but certainly it took off. And then restaurants designed to optimize delivery. I mean, I think we all know that. We had called this last year that the footprint of restaurants would really be shifting from in-room dining to more delivery and pickup space. And, obviously, since we're not allowed inside restaurants right now, the delivery and curbside has really taken off. And then there's no place like home. We had called this last year too, this sort of move to home offices, and people were spending more time at home, and they were looking at hotel design and restaurant design as a way to decorate and make their homes more friendly. So right now, we'll get into this in a few minutes later, but we're sort of retitling this, There's No Place Like a Hotel. Especially when you want to get away from everybody you hate in your house after being pent up for 9 months. Okay.
To all the hotel designers, please don't design a hotel that looks like my home. I need something else.
Yeah. All right. So now we'll get into the big picture. Are you ready? This is the moment of truth. Oh God, you got ahead of me. So
I know you want to say it.
Okay, we take a look at a few trends, and I talked about this at the beginning of this whole presentation. And at first, we were afraid, and we are still petrified, but we do know we will survive. Hey, hey. And so this is about brand extensions, micro, well, you can see the title there, but, basically, restaurants are doing everything, and hotels too, are doing everything that they can to survive this. And again, sometimes crisis breeds creativity. And I think a little of this has, well, no, I know a lot of this has happened. So, the COVID crisis has accelerated people to look at virtual brands or pop-ups, brand extensions, direct to consumer, delivery services, packaged goods, and then really interesting ways to keep it connected to your guests via like the drive-in movies and parking lots, virtual cooking classes, and more. So basically, this has been going on now for the last 9 months, but we see this as a trend, the biggest trend of the year, and one that will stick through the new year. And you can see down below, just these pop-ups have really taken off, and people love it. They love because they're bored at home. They want to do something, and if you only know it's going to be around for a week, you will go for it. So I will survive is the big picture trend.
Oops. Oh, now I can't scroll ahead. Okay, there we go.
Okay, embrace the great outdoors. Well, who would have known that this would be a true impact again right now? As you know, the sad news is with the virus swirling out of control, we're back outside, and we're back outside going into some very interesting weather times. So this again will continue through the new year. Open air spaces that where you can definitely have protection from the weather elements, and each city has different guidelines. So again, we're in San Francisco, and we have people all over the country. So we don't want to sway this report to be more Bay Area, but you can see here that's a beautiful picture of the Vault Garden that was created in an outdoor plaza, complete outdoor restaurant. So hotels are also looking at more outdoor activities. There's gym classes going on outside. We've moved outside, and I think the Chicago competition for the Winter Dining Challenge was really an exciting one to see how designers came on board to create potential spaces to provide this element. So embrace the great outdoors, everybody, because we're going to be out there for a while. Uncovering. I got to be upfront with you. I've got a little issue with my computer where the title is blocked. So can you read the title of that one?
This is Uncovering Systematic Bias and Raising the Bar on Inclusion.
Okay, I got it, and I figured it out. Okay, so this is everybody knows that this is a major issue for our industry right now, and we're not going to preach in any way about what needs to happen here. All we need to say is that you need to focus on awareness, you need to focus on hiring practices, equitable pay, and more. I think supporting BIPOC businesses is very, very important as we look to the new year. And I think what 2020 did is it opened our eyes even wider to what needs to happen in our country. And having such a big voice in our industry gives us an opportunity to really work together to uncover this and to move forward in the right way with inclusion. So our favorite example here was Bakers Against Racism, which raised $1.9 million for racial justice, and it became a worldwide effort. So again, we can get a lot more into this, and I know you'll all hear about it, but it's a really positive movement in our industry, and I think we should be the leaders.
So that leads us into other things for leadership. So every year we've talked about sustainability in some form in our report, I'd say for the past, probably even 10 years. So this is not necessarily a trend, which is why we've given it a whole section this year, because one of the things that we were really happy to see, and I know many in our industry are, is that, at the beginning of 2020, when we all started to think about single-use plastics and just survival, there was a bit of a fear that our industry's focus on how we can create a more sustainable future would take a backseat to just concerns and day-to-day needs. But what we found is that actually it really didn't. And people are still very passionate about this. And we're still seeing quite a bit of innovation happening within this broader category of sustainability. So, we have some more specific areas that we'll highlight, but it's no longer a fringe movement, as we've said here, when Burger King is introducing a low methane burger, or Panera is the first chain to label certain entrees as climate friendly. It's top of mind, and there's some tangible things that people are doing to take on the challenge. So the first thing here is one that I think every operator that I've talked to that's doing delivery is really struggling with the kinds of packaging, both either from a standpoint of the quality isn't what we want, or it's not sustainable. And so what we anticipate is that we will see a lot of innovation in this area because of increased use. We're seeing MacDonald's in the UK is partnering with Loop to test reusable cups. These awesome wine bottles are made with from Frugal Pack are made with recycled paperboard. So we see more of this coming to our industry, as well as people recognize that many compostable products right now aren't great for traveling hot food. They don't do the job well, and many communities don't have the resources to actually compost them. So we predict some more innovation in this area. Renewed focus on food waste, making lemonade from lemons and banana bread from old bananas. I would say next to sourdough, and people leaving their sourdough starters all over the Bay Area, is the banana bread. I've never, ever seen so many people baking banana bread. And one of the things that this comes from, I think what we found is that as people spent more time at home and really tried to use everything in their refrigerator, they changed their mindset a little bit. And so that, combined with the fact that we have all of these companies that we've mentioned here that are using imperfect produce. And so our tolerance, for these kinds of things has changed as we become more aware of how big of an issue food waste is. And so we see companies like Ugly Pickle turning ugly produce into pickles. Imperfect Foods that's pictured here. We're also seeing Republic of Tea introduced a new upcycled tea using wine grape skins. JVF's Waste Not and Zero Food Print are both really focused on this issue. So we think that this idea of eliminating food waste in this way is going to continue to find new ways to live in our industry. Direct to community distribution. This was another one that I think we were all really appalled by the images of food rotting in fields and empty grocery market shelves, things of that nature. And so we really saw that, a lot of the inefficiencies in our food system were highlighted. So we think we'll continue to see the solutions that people implemented with, creating, offering CSAs for pickup with local farms, and 80 Acres Farms in Cincinnati offers curbside pickup and is also sold through Kroger. So we think we're going to see a little bit more coordination in these issues about how things are distributed. This last one is a really interesting one. Redesigning tourism to preserve and persevere. As we look at so many markets that are really suffering right now because of a lack of tourism, we're also seeing at the same time that many cities and areas that were suffering a little bit from over tourism before are really taking a step back and saying, okay, how can we welcome people back and do it in a way that's still going to be valuable to our community? How can we make that a top of mind goal? Key West, Florida just voted to ban cruise ships of over 1,300 people and gave docking priority to cruise lines with certain health and environmental records. And so, we anticipate that we'll see some more of these kinds of things. Tourism New Zealand really looked at just reevaluating how they measure success, and not just in economic terms, but also against the well-being of their country. So, we think that we're going to see, of course, people want the tourists back into their communities, but we're going to see a shift in how those people are drawn back. All right, trends of the year.
I think what was interesting about that is places like Yosemite and the parks and the road trip cities are definitely experiencing over tourism right now. And we have to remember that these places have been here for millions of years, and we want them to be there for our future as well. So we had a very controversial trend in our office. I was like, we need people back. God, we just got to get traveling again. And we had a lot of conversation around whether or not, but it's gonna be a crappy experience if you come back and everything is like burnt out and used. So blah blah blah. Okay, here we go. Drum roll, if you will. These are our trends of the year. This is an exciting section of the report, and we're going to fly through these because we want to make sure we finish on time, but we are really excited. And again, I wanted to say for the trends, some of these you may say, why, well, we sort of knew that, we already knew that already. What we're saying is that for somewhere in this year, they're going to continue to trend, or they may tip, the point may tip where they become cultural. And some of them we just, but these are very interesting because we really researched these. So let's go. Trend of the year. Food trend of the year. Quesadilla. This is the most comforting of comfort food that we could find, and we saw a lot of. Lee Steele, our major trendologist, was really hot on this one, and then it's really funny when we first see it, and then we talk about it. All of a sudden, we see it everywhere, but we haven't seen this one everywhere yet. But we're definitely going to see it, and I think Mexican comfort food in general is one of those foods that really trended well during this pandemic. This particular dish, without going into it too much, is just a combination of wonderful cheese, Mexican meat stew, and take a look at that. Don't you want that dish right now? And we've seen it, really happening all over the place. So very excited to introduce that trend. And El Garage in Richmond, California, is where we all first got to see it and taste it. But you'll see this all over the place. So, and this is not, I was like, oh, is that a new dance trend? Let's all do the quesadilla. No, it's actually a food trend. But I will come up with a dance for you all at some point when I feel that I can dance again. Okay. Here we go. Beverage trend of the year. No surprise here. Hot cocktails. Why? Well, we're going to be outside for a while. And again, every time you think about something that, what's the opportunity in this? And while we've always had in the winter, everybody adds like an Irish coffee or something. This is really where the restaurants are pushing the limit. So you can see that delicious drink from Sobre Mesa right there. Gorgeous. But you'll see a lot of new creative dishes with teas and mulled wines and ciders. And we'll be drinking a lot of this outside this year. So we're all very excited about this trend. Are you having a good time, everybody? I hope so. Okay, because we are. Candace and I are just having the best time with this. This is, you're seeing this for the first time. The cuisine of the year, Chinese American. Well, again, no major surprise here because, when you think about takeout, the tradition of whenever somebody thinks of takeout, they always I think initially they thought of Chinese. But again, last year we had a trend about what is new American. And this year, Chinese American really rose to the top. And so, we talked to a few experts about this, including a guy named Hanson Lee. And he was basically saying it's even right now it's about to make a comeback. And so what makes Chinese food American? Well, Chinese Americans are making Chinese American food, but it's also looking at refining some of the recipes, reducing sugar and oil content, and it's dependable, but it's still not that easily made at home. So we're not going to say food is authentically Chinese, but this is evolved now into the American taste memory. And I think, again, it's new American and Chinese is one of those. So you can see the P.F. Chang's is planning to do a delivery-only concept. And we're also excited to have something coming in the Bay Area that we're really excited about as well. So chow mein and pot stickers bring prosperity in 2021, everybody. So order now. And then cuisine's on the rise. Obviously, this is a hard one to pick when we go to what's going to be the cuisine of the year, but we definitely saw a lot more regional Indian. Again, one of the things about the pandemic that's been interesting is that people can explore more. They're online, they're reading, they're seeing. And again, this gives chefs opportunities to pursue the regions that they're from or historical elements of the dishes. Afro-Caribbean, I think, is just coming onto the scene. And I think you'll see a lot more Caribbean flavors coming through. And then, obviously Singapore Malay is also very interesting. Again, why is this? Because people are digging into regions and they're digging into taste adventures right now because we can't adventure. So we're taking taste adventures. And then a food that's near and dear to my heart, everybody, Jews. The Jews have made it to the top of the list for food this year. really interesting. Bagel shops opening everywhere, Jewish delis, pop-ups. We're lucky enough to work with one called Mark and Mike that was a pop-up. And again, if you look at everything on this list, these are all foods that provide some sort of comfort, even though, we wouldn't call them comfort foods.
And we actually should take a little credit. We actually called the Jewish deli as our predicted concept of the year a couple of years ago, and we were a little too early, we think, but it's coming this year.
But, we finally got our due. Yes. Okay. On to Candace.
Lots of ball soup. So our food trends. So the first one here, bring your favorite restaurant home. What started this year as a survival tactic to really try and just get anything out the door that could make any amount of money to save, to keep the doors open, has really turned into something that, as Andrew said, people are getting more adventurous. They're really enjoying experiencing their favorite restaurants at home. And so what we're seeing here is more of these extensions continuing. We think they will extend into 2021 and get more specific, and also evolve. An example here, we've got Canela in San Francisco offering their incredible paella kits, and we've got Boco and Soto in Cincinnati. They've created a new at-home concept that delivers these meals that just need 15 minutes to prep. Gott's Roadside here has taken their sauces and made those available for people to take it home. So this one is really less about, I got to just put something together that I can sell, and more about how can I take what I do as a restaurateur and let people experience it where they are. And so we think there'll be even more creative ways that people are doing this beyond what we've seen in terms of these kits. Shop like a chef. So going back to kind of what happened with our food supply, we had a whole bunch of restaurant suppliers who didn't have restaurants that could purchase their products. And so that opened up a really exciting time for consumers and for, experienced at-home cooks and those who were using the pandemic to learn how to be experienced at-home cooks like Andrew. And so we saw like 4-Star Seafood and Provisions in San Francisco pivoted on a dime and turned into a direct-to-consumer business. Dine Market, Pepper, Choco all pivoted directly to sell to consumers. So, and there's many more, and they have really learned how to act as direct-to-consumer brands, which is an entirely new business model. So a lot of credit to those purveyors for doing so. But it means for consumers, there's lots of delicious things for us to try and experiment with. Speaking of experimenting, virtual brands are the new food truck. I think we all remember a couple years ago when, more than a couple years ago, I guess, when food trucks became the way that people tested new ideas out because they were low cost. You didn't have a real estate footprint. And now we're seeing that with virtual brands. We're seeing passion projects come. You've got One Market, Mark and Mike's Reuben sandwich that's there. We're seeing large chains take this on. We're seeing, Brinkers International has its Just Wings, and then we're seeing the independents do it. Meso in San Jose introduced a kebab shop or skewery, and others like it, where they're just saying, let's experiment, let's take a little bit of what we do really well and make it available in this fairly safe way. Because these can also be done as pop-ups too, and you see if it works. So we think this is a really interesting. We do think, though, that consumers are calling for transparency around these brands. You don't want to order from one company and find out it's not what you thought it was. So really, being clear as to where the food's coming from is going to be even more important. No, you may not help yourself. So coming out of an age when everybody wants to customize everything and use salad bars and make their own meals, we are now stepping back and saying, no, those self-service stations, either in food service or in at events and things when those come back, we don't anticipate the buffet looking anything like it currently does. So this is Sally the Robot, which is a fresh food robot, is now being piloted in major grocery stores to replace the salad bar, so people can still have that custom experience of creating what they want, but at the same time it's sanitary, and you're not having to worry about other people germ spreading. We're also seeing, in a different way, a lower tech way, we're seeing hotels that used to have staffed buffet stations moving to assisted service as well. So we think you'll be relying on somebody else, whether it's a robot or a person, to make your food for you for the future.
And let's face it, as much as we all love salad bars, they were never very sanitary. I'll just say that. Okay. Even though I dug in a couple times. Yes.
Ingredients on the rise. I think you can dig into these in the downloadable report, but the things that we're seeing on the rise are really centered around health driven things, like monk fruit being an alternative sweetener, waste reduction, really looking at byproducts of other foods, and then plant-based, seeing, like the example we have there, of jackfruit and vegan cheese and those things. So the ingredients that are on the rise really center around those three categories for us. Want a drink, Andrew?
Okay. Yeah, here we go. Let's all have a drink. Wouldn't it be great if we could all have a virtual cocktail together right now as we go through these trends? Obviously, I'd say we've all been drinking a lot more, but I think not just alcohol. So I think I just want to state that there's just been a lot of interesting innovations here. So let's dig into some beverage trends, or toast to some beverage trends. Well, I love this trend because the state of stress that this has all caused us has given us a lot of opportunity to, I can't tell you how many times I read now, like, oh, I just settled down with a glass of wine or something along those lines. So this trend is really interesting too, because it's with a little TLC and a little bit of THC. So you think about not only it's a double whammy, everybody, in some respects, because you're really this is a really relaxing drink. So, obviously this is different state by state. It's too early to say what the long-term effect will be and if we'll be allowed to keep these, but you can see some great examples here of wines that are actually infusing a little bit of cannabis or, just the combined of the two things that some of us all love, I think is a really great trend. And I certainly know that I think this is just at the beginning. And while we're on that, this is really, there's also the calming effect of drinks coming in. And, it used to be, the trend 2 years ago was energy drinks, right? Which is so interesting when you think how things really happen. What's the little shot drink that everybody drinks, Candace? It's for the energy. I can't remember.
5 Hour Energy?
5 Hour Energy, yeah. Like I had a couple. I didn't have any today yet, but I remember cramming for some of these presentations, drinking some of those. But now we're all looking at drinks that are going to calm us down. It's really funny. Lisa, who helped us write this report, put this last line in when even Martha Stewart is marketing CBD. It's BFD. I'm an old man. I had to Google this morning what BFD meant, everybody. And my whole team was hysterical because they couldn't believe I didn't know that. But anyway, you can see PepsiCo has done Drip Well Sleep, and there's Recessed sparkling water. And I think for hotels, certainly these products, making it into your mini bars and different ways to calm people down is going to be key as we keep moving, because this is going to have lasting effects, everybody. We're all going to be really hyped up for a while. Okay. Bar branded cocktails, sort of an extension of what Candace was talking about earlier, but again, another revenue source. So that's one thing I want to say is, like, I challenge you all to look at every possible revenue source that you can come up with out of your existing space if you're going to try to ride out this, the wave here. So many bars and restaurants are selling drinks to go right now. Again, it's allowed. We don't know what's going to happen with that. But many of the bars are doing signature drinks and they're branding them. And right here, that's Smuggler's Cove. That's their branded line. But this is just really on the brink. And we've got great examples below. But I can tell you this is a great opportunity for you all. So some are even selling their cocktails far and wide through retail chains. So things like Gold Belly and different retail chains where that's one thing that's really been interesting about the pandemic, is that we can go national now in ways that we were never able to go national before. So in some respects, brands are getting recognition across the country. All right. Cocktails for a crowd, sort of along the same line. Large format cocktails that are being, are being consumed. And, we already know about canned cocktails. They're coming onto the scene, as we talked about. But people will continue to seek out convenience, but still want great drinks, handcrafted drinks. So we expect to see restaurants, bars, and beverage brands bottling and boxing large format, pre-made, and easily ready to enjoy. The art of making a cocktail is still always going to be great, but at home, sometimes you just want to crack open a can or crack open a box and say, I'm ready for my cocktail. So you can see down below, growlers, cocktails in growlers. That used to just be beer, and then it went to wine, and now it's cocktails. So the growler is making a comeback, or just getting its moment. And then, so I talked a little bit about the calming drinks, but now we also need coffee. But with all of our favorite coffee shops being closed and all of us working from home and all of us taking road trips, you really want to have a good coffee that you can take with or have here. So this is basically single serve coffees like me. You know, why make a big pot of coffee if I'm only going to drink a cup? But I would say that the quality of these single serve brew coffees is going to come really up. For those of you who are old enough to remember Sanka, we're sort of saying, see you later, Sanka. These are like high quality brands. This is a new product that just released last week, called Steeped, from Mr. Espresso here in the Bay Area. And it's steep single serve brew servings. And then you'll see a little bit more of these. But these are great for all those road trips. And for those of you who love camping, another thing I have not done since the pandemic hit.
Andrew, you never camped before.
Camped. Yeah, camping to me is like, you know, just a room with a single bed. But anyway, this is a great opportunity for everybody, especially again in hotels. I think this is great. I think at home. So you'll see a lot more of this.
Andrew pretending to camp. No way, dude. We all know that.
Oh my God. People have called me Camp Candace, but I don't camp. Okay. No, I don't camp. Okay. And then we're not going to go through this whole list, but this is a really good thing for you to all read. We went to a distributor, Magnus Rutherford, and one of our favorite toms here in the Bay Area, Tonya Pitts, and we got some trends from them. To sort of sum it up, wine clubs are going to be very big this year. Virtual tastings, obviously. Packaging was, as Candace meant, I think box wines are going to take it up a notch.
An example of a canned wine. This is actually Magnus.
Are you drinking that right now, Candace? Are you drinking that as we go through this presentation?
From the night before.
Okay. All right. Just had it out. And then I think, obviously the BIPOC issues of, social justice and social issues and supporting Black-owned wineries and things like that will really become, they're coming into the forefront even more. I think we're trending okay on time, Candace. We have about 15 minutes, so we should be good.
I think we're
keep
good.
Moving.
We have a lot more to do, but we get it. We are going to make it.
So excited, everybody. Okay. Oh, and then beer. So the same thing on here. We went to a CEO and we went to a brewer, and again, direct to consumer, eclectic ingredients, low-cal. There's a growing attention for local malters, for limited time only. There are less of those, but they're still, I think it's just because people can't come and enjoy them at the breweries. So we're looking at, off-premise packaging, et cetera. But canning and distribution have been fundamental, I think is really key here. And then the shift to direct to consumer would probably be the two that I would watch here. But again, read these when you get a chance, because these are really, they'll inspire you for how you're going to move your businesses along. And then on the rise, I'll let you read all that on your own. But, every year we sort of find a couple things that we just think are going to be really fun and interesting. And beet juice was the one that I was sort of like, wow, that is interesting. But you'll see some of these products coming through. There's a wine brand, in different categories.
Hotels, we're clipping along, Andrew.
Okay, I keep going. Okay, here we go. So we always look to hotels. So this is no surprise, everybody, but work from hotel. It's definitely something that I'm sure you've all seen, and we suggest it will continue. Why? Because I'll tell you why. Because people really want to get out of their houses, especially if you're working from home. So the idea that you could take a hotel room and work for a day or work for a few hours, or you could, just get away, to a location that might have outdoor space and a balcony and where you can clear your head. I read they were talking about this morning on the news that, people are just checking into hotels just to get away from their families, for a few hours just to get some peace of mind. But I'd say that, obviously this is a great one for this example here is from the proper hotels, they have partnered with a company called Industrious, where you can actually, it's almost where you can rent a room and it becomes your office. So there's plenty of examples of this, but this is a great way for hotels to make up for some of the lost revenue that they're not seeing from tourism.
I would also just add to this, on the other end of the spectrum, you sort of have these day rates, but you also have especially on the luxury end, you have a lot of families with kids that are in school and parents that are still working. So we're seeing resorts that are putting together these kind of remote learning packages so that there's, some supervision for kids during the day and parents are working and they're on vacation. So there's sort of this, global appeal to, these kinds of things.
Yeah, Candace and I couldn't be more opposite. I'm a single person on the 22nd floor of my apartment, and Candace has got 5 kids in her place, and so we're yin and yang. But let's talk about fitness. Yeah, let's talk about fitness. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fittest of them all? Thank you, Lululemon. We see this as a major hotel trend about in-room exercise and things that I can do by myself where I'm not comfortable going to a gym just yet or being around. So, whether it's Peloton or this new mirror that came out this year. So fitness programs that you can do in the comfort of your own space without having to potentially share equipment with anybody. Obviously, we know a lot of the hotels are doing this already, but again, ride the wave of this trend because it's going to take a while for people to feel comfortable going back into group activities.
Yeah, adding that smart technology.
Yeah. Which takes us, I think we have a trend on that in a minute. And then business travel has subscribed to the new subscription model. So there's 2 things that I think are really important here. There's cause-related marketing and partnership marketing. And we'll get into that cause in a minute. But this is about partnerships. This is about working together to say, okay, how can we create a win-win situation? And also, how can we get maybe people to commit for the future, versus just right now as they look to getting a subscription, which includes, travel packages, access to key things, et cetera. So you can see some examples down there, but like United Airlines paired with Pure Space to bundle flights and meeting spaces. Citizen M, the subscription model, gives members access to workplaces. So, there's you can buy a package, and then obviously these are, right now, with the different regulations, these change every day, but we believe these will continue even as travel comes back. And then smart design. Obviously, we had touched on this last year, just the whole idea of like a digital check-in, et cetera, which, that was all last year. That was based more on convenience, honestly, and less on, I don't want to make contact with people. But there's apps being developed and voice activated systems, and basically you can do everything from your bed or from your room without touching anything. Well, that sounds a little dirty, but you know what I mean. But there's a layer of safety being built into all of the way hotels will reimagine themselves when they come back. And I think playing up the safety messaging is going to be vital, to the comeback. And you can see great examples down there, but I want to be sensitive to our time. Okay, so let's move on. Reimagining the wedding party. This is probably one of the bigger trends. Like, how many weddings do you know that got canceled or postponed? And, I think what's going to come out of this is that we're going to see smaller weddings, all-inclusive packages where you can take a section of the hotel, you get outdoor space, you get a ballroom that's just for your potted people or the people that that you trust. And then you can also have a virtual element so the technology can be instilled so that you can still have your wedding. And these will all be bundled as exclusive, all-inclusive packages. River Terrace Inn in Napa has an intimate wedding package for parties up to 10. It's become very popular because they're on the river. They have a beautiful view. They have open air. They can book their own hotel rooms, and we can do everything just for their groups. So I'd say that and this is going to be business meetings too, everybody. So I'd say that packaging with virtual video and sections of the hotel that are just for your group, this is going to be a big when people come back. And on that note, we'll wrap up with some, we're not going to get into this whole slide, but this is one of those slides that I would say print out and put it up, because anybody doing events, this is a great cheat sheet for events. What I will say is that the evolution of events will always have, I think, a virtual element and a live element. And we just finished producing Eat Drink SF, for the Golden Gate Restaurant Association here, but a completely reimagined event that had 2 live events, takeout, delivery, eat outside, or go virtual. So if you think about it, all these different opportunities have to be packaged. Okay, we're going to keep moving.
Okay, so these are our marketing considerations for 2021. We have collected some great ideas that we think other people are doing and sort of packaged them up into, things that might be inspirational for the future. So we don't necessarily call this section a trend section, because marketing, is the good fundamentals of marketing are not necessarily trendy, but here's some great ideas for you and some considerations. This is one of our, we as we tried to put this section together, we realized that we kept coming up with all these buzzwords. And so this is the new words that we're using. You'll see curbside, virtual, pivot, unprecedented. I think that might be the most overused word of 2020, but it is applicable. We've got mask, we've got you're on mute. I think we've all said that a number of times. So just this whole new marketing language that we're using. And so we hope you have some fun with this one, but we tried to put all the
Candace knows
cliches
this is my
into
favorite
one.
slide in the whole presentation, everybody. This is my favorite slide in the whole presentation. I love this slide. Okay.
So we want to talk a little about Gen Z. A lot of the trends that we just talked about are also informed by Gen Z, which you may be saying, like, why do I care about them right now? And the reality is that because they just graduated from college and they're going to start to be consumers of hospitality, and they already were very, very much so in the QSR world. And so now we're going to see them driving a lot more of the rest of the hospitality industry. We're talking about post-millennial youth, so they're born between 95 and 2015. They are digital natives. They have zero memory of the world without a smartphone. And so what that means is that they don't see the lines between what they do on their phone and what they do in the real world. So that means your restaurant experience has to start from the minute they Google where you are. It doesn't start necessarily at the door. They care about experiences, but for them, it's more about everyday moments. They are much more socially influenced than millennials. And this is really important. The example we have here is a company called Snack Pass, which, they're right now, they have several 100,000 users. They're on, a dozen college campuses. And it's a social way that Gen Z is the new way to buy a drink for someone, if you will, or buy a smoothie for someone, where they buy points, and it's kind of like the Starbucks app meets Venmo. It really reflects the way that this generation interacts with food and beverage. So we have some more information in here. There's a great McKinsey report that we suggest, but there's a lot. This generation is also the most diverse, and so you'll see a lot of the food trends that we listed reflect that this generation is gonna they're not trying to be diverse because they're trying to experience something new. They are just diverse, and so yeah, that's the Gen Z. So we'll be hearing more about them in the coming years. Less media, different mediums. So this has been happening for a while, ever since the internet kind of changed the landscape of media. But what we predict we're going to see is that consolidation of high quality media behind a paywall. And we think this is really about how media companies are striving to kind of correct the fact that they gave online away for free for so long, because frankly, to create great journalistic content costs money. Writers need to be paid for helping to educate us, and so we think we're going to see a lot more content behind a paywall, which might mean that you might have less media outlets, but also different ones. Podcasts are not a new thing, but they are becoming way more prevalent, and are a really great way to tell a lot more of a detailed story. So again, we think that these these other mediums that are coming to play are going to continue to grow and expand how we learn about things. AR is your new virtual tour guide. Augmented reality is really still a few years out. But there's some really clever ways that marketers are using them. This is an example of a program in China with gets tours of the Forbidden City and Palace Museum, and this kind of nature that we can explore things in in an alternate world. So we think we'll see a little bit more of that, and marketers can have fun with this, we think. Reimagining corporate perks programs. So since the fact that so many companies have committed to keeping employees home through even the end of next year, we think that this opens up an opportunity for marketers to be able to take what they do and find ways to turn that into a corporate perk. There's different, and whether that's sending something to someone's house, which we have, Charles Chocolates has this artisan chocolate subscription service, which is very cool. Or whether that's like Rush Creek Lodge in Yosemite is doing kind of exclusive use of the spa for corporate events. So you can kind of pod with your executive team, if you will. So we think this is a whole new world to explore for marketers of how you take what you're doing and package it up in a way that makes sense for corporate perks. Andrew, do you want to do this one?
I'll take it from here to wrap this baby up. Again, I wanted to say again, if I had to give you the two buzz marketing terms, it'd be cause related and partner related, and this one hits both. Partnering, we're seeing a lot more culinary councils that are giving good counsel to products, but they're also doing good, and you're getting the marketing reach from these. Looking at, first of all, there's a lot of chefs and sommeliers that are sadly out of work right now, and their talent and their brilliance is still there. So working with them to on your product launch or as a counsel to advise you is a really good thing. This is a great opportunity. And the example we're showing here is Cho Pros, which is a new program that Cho Chocolate put together, where they've tapped into pastry chefs from around the country to not only educate them, but to make them ambassadors, and it supports the Cho mission. And then Doe Wines, which is a new wine that has in a partnership with the James Beard Foundation Impact Program, is also putting together a culinary council of ambassadors that will work with them on producing recipes and wines. And for every bottle of wine that's sold, there's a donation made back to the James Beard Impact Program. So these are really good examples of, again, how you can extend brands and brand partnerships. Okay, and then we have one more slide, or is that it? Can't remember.
No, there's one more, sorry. I got distracted by the comments and questions. They just popped up.
Good. Oh, good. Okay. And we're running into we're probably going to run 5 over. So we understand if you have to leave us, we apologize. First time doing it. So we'll speed it up. But I get to end with a song, which is Let's Get Digital. And I think probably of all the trends now with touchless and the opportunity, restaurants were never really that good with digital. It wasn't, something like, we're all about customer service and treating, talking to guests and doing everything. But now there's many platforms that are combining everything together to make the experience for the end user as seamless as possible. And not to mention making it much easier for the restaurant. So you've got Open Tables, Open Door program. 7 Rooms is an all-inclusive service. So whether it's tracking special occasions, making reservations, POS, ordering, delivery, takeout, these online platforms are just becoming a lot more easier and user-friendly. And so we're going to end on that. So I encourage you all to chant "I will survive." Get out there, do everything you can to support hotels and restaurants in any way you can. I did want to mention too that I want to give a special big shout out to Lee Steele, who is our lead trendologist and strategist on this report. And there again is our hashtags, our names. We'll stay on if we do have any questions, if anybody wants to stick. And I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Candace and I know it's going to be a very different Thanksgiving. So order in, enjoy takeout, delivery, and in the end, just do the hustle, everybody, because we're still in it, and we're going to be headed for some rocky and some sad times a little bit too. But I think as we emerge, we're going to emerge a lot more creative. So that's the official end of the presentation. Candace, anything on your end?
No, that's it. I think I'm looking through some comments. There was a question about obtaining the report. Andrew mentioned we will email it out to you along with a recording here, but you can also download it. Right now it's available. It'll be available on both websites, but right now we have the Carbonate website there for you. So you can download the report now if you're so excited about it, but we will email it out. Let's see. Thrival, Andrew,
I'm,
somebody would like you to copyright the word thrival, and I think you should.
oh,
That's a good
thrival,
one.
survival and thrival. Yes, survival and thrival. I think that'll be our new thing. I love that.
Yeah, yes. And I'm
Did
just
anybody
looking
ask
through
when my
this.
album will be, when my CD will be coming out of greatest hits from the disco era? Was that a question that we got?
Oh, it was. I'll have
Okay.
to pull all of those.
Okay.
Yes, I will. Yes, definitely, Andrew. Everybody wants that.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Okay. Of
I
course.
do.
You humor me.
Uh, but no, I think we're good. I'm looking through to see.
I did forget to mention we have one more webinar coming up on December 2nd at 2 p.m. Pacific
yes.
for anybody who wants to, let other people know about how brilliant this last hour was in your day.
And I think on that note, I think we're good. Some comments coming through, but it doesn't look like any specific questions. But thank you all for. It looks like people enjoyed
Thank
it.
you,
So
everybody.
you.
We really appreciate
You
your support of our agency too. We're in it with you. Have a great
we know
day.
you have
Happy
many
Thanksgiving.
choices for how to spend your webinar time. So thanks for spending it with us.
Yes,
Thanks,
indeed.
everyone.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.